So let me introduce myself a little bit. So I'm Jacque. I'm currently an assistant professor at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So I did my bachelor in University of Sydney in Australia. And then I did my PhD in my hometown, Hong Kong. And then I did my postdoc in Boston. So I had a pretty global experience, I would say. And my research focus is mainly on molecular neuroscience and developmental disorder. So I would like to use my own experience to facilitate diversity and nurturing next generation scientists as well. The other chair today is Srikanth. Maybe Srikanth can introduce himself a little bit as well.
So my name is Srikanth Ramaswamy. I'm a group leader at the EPFL, and I have a background in engineering and then moved to neuroscience. So I'm originally from India, where I did my bachelor's in engineering, followed by a master's in Scotland, and then moved to Switzerland for my PhD. I then followed up my PhD with a brief postdoc, and I'm currently at EPFL leading my own group. I would really like to also bring my own personal experience as a scientist of color and an expatriate, having lived in various places, and how this has influenced my professional and personal growth, both as a neuroscientist and an individual. So hope to discuss more after this presentation.
Okay, thanks, Srikanth. We can introduce ALBA Network a little bit first. So describe the context or the background of this effort. So as you aware, we have a lot of issues, the diversity issues in academia, and we are focusing in brain science. So women account for less than 30% of the world's researchers. And despite many efforts, there is still striking inequalities when it comes to high-level positions, invitation to conferences, career advancements, and also academic decision-making. So therefore, we have a group of scientists, and especially with fans, we try to address these issues and by establishing this ALBA network to establish a global network to promote diversity and in brain sciences. And we have many different activities in this network. For example, we are hosting networking events and workshops at major conferences. We are establishing awards with partners. We're highlighting different successful stories, creating a mentoring community, and we're collecting a database of scientists. And we also do advocacy with policymakers. So specifically, we would like to share best practices to counteract bias and recognize outstanding contributions to science and diversity. And we would like to provide networking and mentoring opportunities. We also support career development of members of underrepresented groups. So if you haven't joined us, please join us at this website here. So today, our topic is to promote diversity. So I just want to put out some figures from a paper published in 2018. So this paper describes the advantage of diversity. And this paper argues that ethnic diversity correlate positively with the citation counts. And when it comes to age diversity, group ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and also affiliation diversity. And this paper also points out a very interesting fact is that group diversity is more important than individual diversity. that means if you have like very low diversity, then you have a lower impact in terms of like paper citation count. Of course, we know that paper citation is not the only measurement for impact, but this paper use paper citation counts. So when you have like more diverse groups within the research group or with the collaboration group that, or network, then the more diverse the group is, the higher impact it can generate. I think this is a very interesting fact, and it supports our argument that why we need to have a diversity in research. Okay. So we all know that, or we're all aware that there's a diversity issues here, and labs or institutes should not or should make the employees feel included and respected regardless of their age, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, physical conditions, cultural backgrounds, or country of origin. But then the question is how we can do this. I think this is the most important question, how we can enhance diversity. So as a PI, so maybe I can first share my experience. As a PI, I'm trying to encourage like, we'll try to plan a diverse research group in my research team. I try to I'm trying to be very aware of my current like gender balance, and also like is it from underrepresented group. So when I try to recruit a team member, I would use this as a factor. But apart from that, I don't know, or I'm not sure what else I can do, how I can do more. So maybe I think that's the point of today's discussion. So maybe Srikanth, do you have anything to share with us in this regard?
So I think diversity and inclusion should. So first of all, thanks a lot, Jacque, for the presentation. And as Jacque said, I think diversity and inclusion should really be the norm going forward. Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk in academia about making it more inclusive for scientists of color, but there's very little that's being done. I think if academia has to be more inclusive and diverse, then it's really up to the scientists of the next generation like us to bring this upon ourselves, to really make this our responsibility, to have that awareness and that sense of responsibility that academia can only continue to be more effective with diversity and inclusion. So I think the whole concept of diversity and inclusion should be ingrained in our DNA. We're really the scientists of today and tomorrow who are going to shape, influence policy-making bodies, universities, decision makers, to actually come up with more affirmative plans to encourage diversity and inclusion. I think the whole Black in Neuro movement that we all probably heard about is a curtain raiser, and I think we need a lot more such events to make people aware of the importance of diversity and inclusion in academia.
Mm-hmm. So maybe now I invite the participants and see if they have any comments or ideas on how we can like facilitate or promote diversity like at different levels. Anyone?
There is a question in the chat.
Oh, there's a question in the chat. I need to, let's see. Let's see. Sorry. I need to go to the chat. I can't get. Oh,
Oh, yeah, I think, well, that's a very good question. And we actually have this whole initiative underway as part of the ALBA Promotion of Diversity and Inclusion Task Force.
Maybe you could repeat the questions for everybody.
Yeah, sure. So Emily asks, what do you think about sharing role model stories like yours? So yeah, that's a very good idea, and we're actually working on a series of stories and podcasts as part of the ALBA Promotion of Diversity and Inclusion Task Force, and this exciting program has just started, and so stay tuned for more updates. So we exactly want to make these stories available from people who come from diverse backgrounds and who actually weathered the storm, to speak of, to really turn into scientists who've taken up academia as a career path. And this story series would actually highlight some of these scientists, what kind of discrimination they faced, for example, during their formative years. What did they do to overcome these barriers? And what are some of the thoughts they have to pave the way for more diversity and inclusion in academia?
Mm. I think that's a very good point. And I think what we are now trying to do can really help promote like diversity by telling the stories. The issues I think, then I have another questions here. So how about using the diversity of population in labs to create networks between labs? So, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's what I am trying to do right now. I think is to create a very diverse lab culture and also diverse background. Then we will attract like people from their network than to create an even more diverse culture, right? I think that's one model we're doing at the level as a lab. I guess what I think is at the individual lab level, I think that's something we can do. But sometimes it's frustrating when you get to the departmental level or the institution level when it comes to like faculty hiring or management hiring. So that's something that's really out of our reach, right? I just don't know how we can persuade them or tell them this is something very important and you should consider this. I think that's something that something that I really like to see. Is there any suggestion or potential ways to convince the management people or the administrative people?
Really agree with your opinion. Thank you for the introduction. And also, I would add that social media is very important to make people more aware of this problem. And it's like this Black and Nero group in Twitter, I guess, right?
Yeah.
where everybody can tell a little bit about their research and their success, so that other people can see their results, their success, and support them. That's really important, I guess. So make some group like this we need, maybe.
Yes, I think using social media to as a platform to create awareness is very important, and yeah, I totally agree that social media could really pave the way to create some much needed awareness about diversity and inclusion. I think when it comes to diversity and inclusion, um, there are probably many active movements underway already in American universities, but I think we really need a serious push or a thrust in European universities, where unfortunately there's probably talk about diversity and inclusion, but in practice we see very little of this. Like for example, my department at EPFL, so the Brain Mind Institute, it's very homogeneous in its composition of faculty members. And unfortunately, although the EPFL is one of the most international universities in the world, this international makeup is not exactly reflected in terms of diversity and inclusion when you go higher up. Like for example, people who lead their own research groups or PIs at EPFL, I think they're still very homogeneous when it comes to their ethnicity. So I think all this needs to change at the grassroots level, and we really need to make people from diverse backgrounds and ethnicities more welcome to fit in, to enhance the environment at European universities in particular, because I think there's a lot more that needs to be done here.
Yeah, I also just have in my mind one thought about it would be helpful if different companies, laboratories, anybody don't ask to put nationality, gender in their CV when accepting, asking for a job like this, because we always have this template for CV where we need to specify age, nationality, and gender, and I would not want it. It may be a reason for rejection, so it may be good to adjust somehow. And also, may I ask about mentorship program? I saw on your website there are some information about this mentorship program. Is it work now or?
Well, I think it's yet to start. So yeah, I mean that's clearly one path forward that the ALBA network wants to pursue to really provide this much needed mentorship component. And well, the ALBA network is also relatively new. It's only been around for the past year or so. And so all this is definitely in the making.
That's great, because it's great support from somebody with experience, and it's very important, I guess, for especially for young researchers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have two more questions in the chat. So the first one is, was mobility not a problem for you? Maybe this is an obstacle to global collaboration. Okay, so regarding global collaboration, I prepared one slide. So this is the current common mode of like global or regional collaboration right now. So, so at the bottom level is between PI. So if I know, say, Srikanth, then we can collaborate and then we form like a project together. So that's at the level of PI. And also some organization or funding agencies, they have target program grants. So then you can gather like different PIs and together you can submit a grant. Then you can have some diversity there, but you need to know that PI first, right? And then there's some joint research centers of excellence. So in that case, usually a university will try to partner with a famous university. And so that does not create diversity because everyone wants to go to those like famous university and they want to sign some agreement between universities. And so that's the current like model that I can see. And it's quite narrow. So I think that's the current mode. So then maybe we can have a discussion here and see if there's any idea how we can enhance or promote like global or regional collaboration without these boundaries. And so going back to the question, was mobility a problem? I guess before the COVID situation, I think it's relatively easier for us to travel. But I know that some researchers may have the visa issues. So especially for now, there's a conflict between U.S. and China. So I know some researchers may have issues to obtain visas, and even the government may not suggest the researchers to travel to the other countries just to avoid conflict. So there's another obstacle because there's political issues right now. So. But I guess right now with COVID, we developed like a way to use webinar, the Zoom meeting. So I guess everyone now is very comfortable with Zoom meeting now. And so I think in terms of like communication of science is still okay, but it's not good for networking because you cannot go to a conference and meet new people and get new ideas. So you just use your own networks, right? And talk to those people. I think that's the current problem due to the COVID situation. So maybe I'll let you guys share your thinkings before we go to the next questions, maybe. And maybe we can go to the next question. So do the institutions listen to our mission? Are they open to create discussions and start with concrete solutions? That's a very good question. So Srikanth, do you want to talk about this issue?
Yeah, the institutes seem to be receptive, but you really have to make a huge noise for them to hear, because otherwise I think that they are under the impression that everything's fine, and they don't realize that the lack of diversity and inclusion could be very fundamental. Yeah, I think the moment you really try and shake up the tree, then they're willing to listen. But the problem I have is that this shouldn't really happen. Or sure, there's the lack of awareness, but then I think people should realize this is a fundamental problem already. I mean, just looking around, for example, and you don't really see a lot of diversity around you. It's like you see pretty much people of a similar kind around you, and I guess this is also some kind of an implicit bias that people should try to realize. And all this can only come with awareness. I think universities are slowly beginning to realize this is a problem they need to address. But I think the realization is slow. And the more noise that's made, then the more realization and awareness it could lead to. And I'm sure that going forward, universities would be open to really create discussions and obtain concrete solutions to identify what's the way forward to make their environment more diverse and inclusive.
Yeah. Thank you, Srikanth. Maybe I can share a little bit from my experience here in Hong Kong or Asia. So I think university is also generally receptive about the idea, and you can always see the diversity statement or equal opportunity statement on the advertisement, but I don't really see much like open discussions or any active efforts to make things happen. So that's my feeling right now. You can always see the statement, right, anywhere, but I don't see much real efforts going on. So I guess that's what we try to do here at the individual lab levels. We try to promote diversity, and then we talk to like other groups and in the department, and other departments try to promote that. And hopefully this bottom-up approach can one day reach the management people. That's what we're trying to do here.
If I may, how do you think you can shake the trees, as you said? Maybe if they do not really listen, because I heard a lot often of surveys. The institutions do surveys and then they get results, okay, something's wrong, but I never heard about concrete solutions. So do you think networks like yours can, let's say, shake the tree, maybe with a social media campaign, or to bring the forces? It's not only you that say that there is an issue, but a big group of people, and maybe they are forced to do something quicker. I don't know.
I think so, yes. So initiatives like ALBA are very much needed and required to really influence universities based on a collective opinion. And this is just a start. And I'm quite confident that going forward, initiatives like the ALBA Network would gain a lot of momentum to influence policymakers at universities. And the advantage about the ALBA Network is really is that members of the steering committee are also like part of the decision-making body in their respective universities. So they're really in a position to bring about change. And I think going forward, I'm quite hopeful and optimistic that we would be able to see the change, because so the people who shake the tree are somehow also part of the ALBA network and are part of the higher decision-making bodies at universities. So I think it's in one way it's like killing two birds with one stone. So hopefully, I think going forward, this will have a huge impact and bring about the much-needed winds of change when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
If I may intervene here, ALBA is also working on a declaration of best practices. Currently, the title is the ALBA Declaration for the Promotion of Diversity in Brain Sciences or Research. And it's still at the draft level, but we're really working on this to be as complete as possible. And we want it to be like a kind of toolkit that institutions and organizations could sign, and therefore they would engage themselves to follow, use this toolkit to increase their diversity in their institution. Mm-hmm. But it could also be signed simply by individuals. So there's many advices and tips for, be it at the international, in the institutional level and the personal level as well. So there's actions that you can do yourself in your day-to-day life to increase diversity, and then there's actions that needs to be taken at either governmental or institutional level.
I think that's a good point to identify the right person to lobby. I think it has to be a lot of like lobbying effort. So I guess in our university, maybe there's a vice president for like research or like for internal affair. Then I think that's usually the person we try to talk to, because this person is responsible for like promoting cultures and different or solving different issues in the university.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have another question. How do you organize hiring in your lab or your colleagues' lab to ensure a diversity in staff? I think this is a difficult question. Right? How do we ensure there's a diversity? Maybe I can first share from my experience. So we are a relatively new lab, and so it's difficult for us to do some active hiring. But from time to time, I do receive emails from different potential candidates, and they're from a diverse background. They may be from like out of country. So what I try to do is identify the potentials and encourage them to apply for programs. So there are different programs here in Hong Kong that they can do. Through that program, they can do PhD or postdoctoral research in Hong Kong. And I try to help them to come up with a proposal that they can apply for funding to work in the lab. So because we don't have much like grant money to hire like staff, but in case if I have some money, then I would try to hire them. And here we do receive a lot of applications from Southeast Asia, and also East Asia as well. So not just from Hong Kong. So this is my current approach right now. And I try to be as open-minded as possible to see what I can do to ensure diversity in staff. So what do you think, Srikanth? Like what can we do to achieve this goal?
So again, as with Jacques' lab, my group is also relatively new, and my approach has not been very different from what Jacques said. But on the other hand, I mean, somehow, yeah, I guess as human beings, we all have implicit biases, and at times I let some of these biases take over, because sometimes they're good. In that, for example, I've had cases for an opening where I've received applications from someone who possibly comes from a more privileged background, or a better university having access to more resources and facilities. And on the other hand, I have someone who does not come from a very privileged background, or who might come from somewhere in Asia or Africa, but who's equally very enthusiastic to learn things. So there, I really let my instinct drive my decision making, because in hindsight, it could be that if you gave this less privileged person an opportunity to come and work with you, then very likely this person would deliver so much more, for example. So sometimes you need to also be a little subjective and let your instincts take over when it comes to hiring people for a certain position. I mean, to me, it's a combination of course, being meticulous in looking through credentials, and also letting some instinct drive you as to if you were to put yourself in the shoes of the less privileged person and ask, okay, if I were to give this person an opportunity to come and work, then would this person do a better job? And more often than not, this has worked out to be this has worked out quite well. And so it's not always an objective approach that can be used when it comes to hiring, and specifically to ensure a balance of diversity and inclusion. So you also need to be a little subjective at times. So to me, this balance of instinct and being subjective has worked quite well in establishing a diverse group.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I would try to focus on the potential motivation and how suitable that person for the job, I guess, instead of like other backgrounds issues.
If this need special attention, maybe not. But I guess in this problem also we should highlight that there is other side. There may be other side. When those efforts are like too much, but it's probably not the case. But we should be aware of this possibility. It may be if a lab trying to improve the diversity and stuff, and this may be a wrong criterion to choose somebody as the next to accept one application and not accept another only because of nationality. I mean, you reject somebody who is your country nationality, but accept somebody from other country, dependent of their skills, knowledge, experience, etc. I guess this process will be much better if it is blind or like something, so that who is hiring don't know really nationality and gender, or and make decision only according to the person's skill, experience, and how all of this fit to this exact work or job. I mean, I hope that was clear what I wanted to say. Because I wouldn't want to be hired only because I'm a mother, because they do not have other mothers. Only because of this, I want to be hired because of my skills and experience. That's all.
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I totally understand. In that, I think so. It should really be based on merit, and your so-called disadvantage shouldn't be used as a trump card. And in order to make it a level playing field, yes, it should totally be on merit. But sometimes it could just be that someone from a slightly less privileged background or whatever, or someone who's had a maternity break or a paternity break or whatever, just might have missed out on some access. And it could be that these people also have very similar qualifications compared to someone else. And if you took the extra effort to give these people an opportunity, then provided they're all on a level playing field, then I think that could work as well to increase diversity. But I agree with you that you should not hire someone just because they come from a different background or a less advantageous or a less privileged background. But merit should be the primary criterion. So after that, I guess, depending on whatever, you can base your decision on other factors, but then merit should be the primary criterion for people to be hired. I agree. Yes.
That's it. What I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I would say that this low diversity we see for now maybe from two reasons. One is head of lab or somebody who is on chair is make a biased decision who to hire, and the other side is also true. There are less applications from different nationalities because those people may be not aware that that's okay, they can apply, and so I would make the focus on advertisement and increase awareness of public that's we all know this problem exists, and we will support them. We will judge only, as you said, judge them not depending on their nationality or gender or something, but on their skills, I mean. So that would be great, because I was recently in Sri Lanka, and I was talking with people, and somebody even don't know there are some somebody loves science, would love to do it, but have no opportunity to go somewhere, and they just don't know that there are international grants programs and etc. They just do not know, and have no idea how to get know this. So promotion and advertisement, that's very important, especially for those countries like Sri Lanka, India maybe also.
Sure, I think there are, I mean, there are not enough, but there certainly are some bilateral funding programs and schemes, for example, that specifically target people from certain geographies, mainly because they have less access to resources and facilities, to try and provide them with the kind of exposure and the training required to succeed as scientists. But I think we probably need more of these. And obviously, I mean, it's not like you're going to select someone who applied just because they're from a certain geography, but yeah, the selection criteria also has to be quite stringent, and it has to be made solely on the basis of merit, but could be targeted towards certain geographies where you would have highly qualified people, but who might otherwise not have the access and the exposure that are very much required to succeed in science.
I think that's a good point. We need to advertise the opportunities more for like younger generation or the underrepresented group. Yeah. For example, like I applied for EBRO, like International Brain Research Organization, fellowship, and also travel grant. I think they provide a lot of like funding mechanisms, but actually not many people like know that in Hong Kong. So I think, yeah, you reminded me I should like advertise this more so that students and trainees like who know this opportunity and at least try to apply, right? And there are different mechanisms, I'm sure, like in FANS or HFSP. So that's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe some resource should be done, like where everybody can find international grants and supporting programs, something like maybe special page, or
Right.
So somebody will collect all sources in one place, like this.
Yeah, I think there are some of these lists on Twitter, but we could certainly use the ALBA website as a platform to try and come up with like, I don't know, retweets or advertisements or something that regularly provides updates on some of these targeted funding schemes. Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. And this is also a good opportunity for the ALBA network to try and advertise some of these specific programs on the website.
Yeah, I think so. That's a very good point. So, Ricardo, do you have anything to add? I think we have a very nice discussion over 15 minutes now. I think it's very fruitful, and I think there are some key points that we should follow up, and we should encourage everyone at ALBA to work on those areas. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think it was a very fruitful discussion, and we definitely have a lot of action items here to follow up on. If people in the audience are not yet part of the ALBA network, then we urge you to join the ALBA network, exactly for the reasons that we've been discussing. So we need a lot more voice, and change can only come through collective action. So the more we are, the better.
Thank you for participating, and thank you for your inputs. And hopefully we'll see you in our next event. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Really
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.